Hello and welcome to Standard Voice Television Global News. Today, 18th April 2026, equivalent Islamic calendar, 1447 after the Hijrah of the Noble Prophet. In the headlines, President Tinubu signs 68.32 trillion naira 2026 budget and extends 2025 spending deadline. Federal government secures $83 million to expand off-grid electricity nationwide. Troops operation Enduring Peace intercepts ammunition on Kaduna to Jos Road and arrests 7 suspects. And on the international scene, Iran agrees to reopen Strait of Hormuz routes for oil tankers. And lastly on sports, you'll hear that Commission approves 2026 National Sports Festival commencement date. Details of these and more will be coming to you in the news bulletin. I am Sumaya Mustafa. Stand by. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has signed the 2026 appropriation bill into law, approving an aggregate expenditure of 68.32 trillion naira for the current fiscal year. Special advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, who disclosed this in a statement in Abuja, said Tinubu also signed a separate bill extending the implementation period of the 2025 budget from March 31 to June 30, 2026. The presidency added that the budget allocates 4.799 trillion naira for statutory transfers and 15.8 trillion naira for debt service. It further sets aside 15.4 trillion naira for recurrent expenditure and 32.2 trillion naira for capital expenditure through the Development Fund. The 2026 Appropriation Act took effect on April 1, with the federal government beginning full implementation in line with what the presidency describes as the Renewed Hope agenda. Moving on, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has refuted criticism of his administration's performance, saying those who fail to see ongoing progress may need eyeglasses to appreciate the achievements. Tinubu made the assertion at the State House during a meeting with Renewed Hope ambassadors and defended his economic and governance reforms, insisting that his administration remains committed to lifting Nigerians out of poverty and sustaining democracy. The Nigerian leader also described his presidency as a continuation of policies from the administration of his predecessor, Muhammadu Buhari. He admitted that the country's economic journey has been difficult but urged Nigerians to remain patient, assuring supporters that the reforms under his Renewed Hope agenda would yield long-term benefits. Still in the news, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been challenged to prove his confidence ahead of the 2027 elections by directing the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, to stop interfering with the judiciary and the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Former Rivers State Governor Rotimi Amechi made the challenge during an interview on Channels TV, responding to reports that President Tinubu had rallied his support base and declared he was unbothered by the opposition's mobilization around the African Democratic Congress, ADC. He also dismissed the INEC chairman's interpretation of a Court of Appeal ruling that the ADC was effectively leaderless. In another development, the ADC says President Bola Ahmed Tinubu should be worried about a possible defeat in the 2027 general elections, citing widespread hardship and insecurity in Nigeria. Factional National Chairman of the African Democratic Congress ADC, Nafiu Bala, says the David Mark-led National Convention is illegal. Bala, who made this statement while addressing newsmen in Abuja, was reacting to the recently held National Convention of the ADC under the leadership of David Mark. He also noted that as far as the duty, constituted and legitimate leadership of our great party is concerned, the coalition groups are not members of the ADC. The factional leader said any decisions emanating from such gathering are devoid of legal effect and cannot pass the test of legality. Moving on, the federal government has secured $83 million in International Finance Corporation-backed financing to expand off-grid electricity access to rural and underserved communities nationwide. The head of the Nigerian Electrification Program and DEGRADED project lead, Nigeria Electrification Program, Olufemi Akinyelure, who made this known in a statement, described the move as a major step towards closing the nation's power gap. He explained that the funding was mobilized under the Distributed Access through Renewable Energy Scale-Up Program. The statement said the financing agreement was signed on the sidelines of the World Bank Group and IMF Spring Meetings 2026 in Washington, D.C., and will support private developers deploying mini-grids and solar home systems in communities without reliable electricity. The federal government has confirmed that over 25 of the 65 ambassadors designates have received agreement from host countries. Spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Kimieba Ebienfa, made this known in Abuja while briefing journalists on current developments and Nigeria's diplomatic engagements. He added that Nigeria is set to commence the deployment of ambassadors to foreign missions following the receipt of agreement from more than 25 host countries. Ebienfa, however, said the significant progress had been made in the accreditation process required before envoys are posted abroad. The spokesperson also explained that envoys who have secured agreement would proceed to their respective postings after the induction, although some missions may still await final clearances. The news is coming to you on Standard Voice Television Global News. Still to come in the news. Troops of Operation Enduring Peace intercept ammunition on Kaduna to Jos Road and arrest 7 suspects. And on the international scene, Iran agrees to reopen Strait of Hormuz route for oil tankers. And on sport updates, Commission approves 2026 National Sports Festival commencement date. Details of these and more will be coming to you after this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back from that short break, and now the news continues. Troops of Operation Enduring Peace have intercepted a cache of ammunition and improvised explosive devices (IEDs) components along the Kaduna to Jos Road and arrested 7 suspects. The Media Information Officer of the Joint Task Force, Captain Chinonso Ote, who made this known in a statement, added that the interception occurred near Boys Science Secondary School on the Manchok to Jos Road in Kaduna State. Ote also explained that the troops stopped a commercial vehicle conveying 7 passengers and recovered ammunition concealed in the vehicle. Items recovered included 569 rounds of anti-aircraft ammunition, several warheads, and 189 empty shells of ammunition. Still in the news, the Kaduna State government says the state has identified 22,435 hectares of degraded land for restoration using advanced geospatial mapping technologies under the Agro-Climate Resilience in Semi-Arid Landscapes project. Governor Obasani, who disclosed this at Agro-Climate Resilience midterm review meeting in Kaduna, noted that the development marks a major step in Kaduna's climate resilience drive as the state intensifies efforts to reverse environmental degradation and promote sustainable land use. Sani, who was represented by the Commissioner for Environment and Natural Resources, Abubakar Buba, explained that the deployment of geospatial tools has enabled the state to accurately map out degraded areas, ensuring targeted and effective restoration interventions. Earlier, the Minister of Environment and Chairman of the Federal Steering Committee, Balarabe Abbas Lawal, said the project has recorded notable gains in land restoration, afforestation, and livelihood support across participating states. The Sultan of Sokoto, Mohammed Saad Abubakar, has declared Sunday, 19th April 2026, as the first day of Zulqa'dah. The Chairman Advisory Committee on Religious Affairs, Sultanate Council, Sokoto, and Wazir in Sokoto, Professor Sambo Wali Junaidu, disclosed this in a statement in Sokoto. The statement said the declaration follows the non-sighting of the crescent moon on Friday, 17th April 2026, corresponding to 29th Shawwal 1447 after the Hijrah of the Noble Prophet. It added that Saturday, 18th April 2026, will be observed as the 30th day of Shawwal 1447 after the Hijrah. And moving on to the international scene, Iran says the strategic Strait of Hormuz, vital for the global oil trade, will remain open to commercial ships as long as a ceasefire in the Middle East holds. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, who disclosed this, confirmed that the passage for all commercial vessels through Strait of Hormuz is open for the remaining period of ceasefire. However, it is not clear whether he was speaking of the 10-day truce agreed by Lebanon and Israel that went into effect at midnight, or an earlier 2-week truce between Iran and the United States that began on April 8. State media reported that Iran, which sent shockwaves through the global economy by essentially blocking passage through the crucial strait, had made the extension of a ceasefire to Lebanon a condition of opening the waterway. And lastly, on sport updates, the National Sports Commission (NSC) has announced November 27 to December 11, 2026 for the 21st National Sports Festival, tagged to the Core City Games in Enugu State. The Director General of the Commission, Bukola Olapade, announced the date during the first meeting of the Main Organizing Committee (MOC) in Abuja. He added that according to the approved schedule, state delegations are expected to arrive on November 25 and 26. The opening ceremony is slated for November 27, while the closing ceremony will take place on December 11. The Director General also described the timeline as sacrosanct, noting that the dates were finalized following high-level consultations with the Governor of Enugu State, Barrister Peter Nba. Olapade added that the 2026 edition is poised to become the most well-funded festival in Nigeria's history. Finally, on the news, here's a recap of the top stories again. President Tinubu signs 68.32 trillion naira 2026 budget and extends 2025 spending deadline. Federal government secures $83 million to expand off-grid electricity nationwide. And in the news, you heard that troops Operation Enduring Peace intercept ammunition on Kaduna to Jos Road and arrest 7 suspects. And on the international scene, Iran agrees to reopen Strait of Hormuz route for oil tankers. And lastly, on sport updates, you heard that Commission approves 2026 National Sports Festival commencement date. And that's the size of the news on Standard Voice Television Global News. Our next news bulletin comes up to you later. On behalf of the news editor Ilya Adamu Auta and the production crew, I am Sumaya Mustafa, thanking you and bye for now.